Or are you like a mixture?
I do.
Yeah.
I just give a little bit more intention. To address the ritual.
Yes. Yes. Okay. My whole shebang there. Yep.
There's the.
It's
the
Hey, good evening. My name is Kimberly Blackman-Gunn. I am the director of the ignITe Hub. Welcome, welcome to the ignITE Hub. Tonight's session is our Fireside Chat Career Series, our last one of the year. It's hard to believe how time flies. Welcome again, everybody. The ignITE Hub is Montgomery County's newest innovation center here in the county, and we are focused on entrepreneurship and technology and supporting our county residents from K to 12 to retirees to access technology in training, career, in business, innovation, and community education. So the hub is here to serve that need here in the county. Exciting news, we have a corporate sponsor with the ignITE Hub. So Verizon has very generously donated to the hub. So please welcome and congratulate them coming on board to support us and to continue providing these meaningful series here at the ignITE Hub, our speaking series. So tonight we have Dr. Shinta Hernandez. She is the Dean of the Virtual Campus here at Montgomery College, and she's going to talk about the power of online learning, improving equity, access, and student success. So we're going to hear about that. Welcome. I want to welcome our guests that we have here in the hub and also those that we have virtually. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to be here and to hear from Dr. Hernandez on this wonderful topic. So before we get started, I would love to read Dr. Hernandez's biography. So I'm going to read that right now. So Shinta Hernandez, Ph.D., is the founding dean of the virtual campus at Montgomery College in Montgomery County, Maryland. From the time she started at MC, January 2007, she has helped to advance work in the areas of open education and open pedagogy, social justice and equity, inclusive curriculum, faculty professional development, international collaborations, online education, and the social science disciplines. Dr. Hernandez currently serves as Vice President of Professional Development on the Community College Consortium for Open Educational Resources Executive Council. She's the co-founder of the global award-winning United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Open Pedagogy Fellowship, which has grown to more than 10 institutional partners across North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and Asia. She also serves as the Department Chair of Sociology, Anthropology, and Criminal Justice at Montgomery College, where she has led her department through the implementation of Z courses using culturally relevant open educational resources that resulted in students in her discipline saving approximately $1 million in textbook costs. She was also chair of the Maryland Higher Education Commission Faculty Advisory Council. Dr. Hernandez received her BA degree in psychology from Brandeis University, MPP degree in social policy from Georgetown University, and Ph.D. degree in sociology from the University of Maryland, College Park. She was awarded the Outstanding Faculty Award for Excellence in Teaching and Advising from Montgomery College in 2017, and the Excellence Award from the National Institute for Staff and Organizational Development in 2018. You can follow Dr. Hernandez on Twitter at Prof. Hernandez2. So thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for joining us this evening. Wow, your biography just speaks to the caliber of guests that we have here at the Hub, and we're so honored to have you both professionally, but also as a colleague and a friend. Thank you for coming to share your expertise with our community about the amazing work that you do.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Block-Rincon, for inviting me. Thank you to all of you who are here in person, and thank you to those who are on Zoom tuning in. I appreciate the invitation. So I'm going to share with you this. When Ms. Block-Rincon asked me if I could do this, gosh, I was honored, of course, humbled, the opportunity. But I have to tell you, I'm not used to talking about myself, speaking about myself. So for a minute there, I was taken aback. I thought, oh gosh, okay, I'll do it, right? I want to share with everybody the successes and the challenges along the way and how I am where I am today. But it was going to take quite of a reflection on myself, a deep self-reflection of who I was, where I was, who I am, what my journeys have looked like, and really just share with you the various ups and downs that have come along the way. And I'm sure there will be continuous ups and downs because that is just life, but just how we can all overcome the obstacles and still achieve our personal and professional goals. So thank you so much for being here, all of you. And as Ms. Block-Rincon mentioned, the title of my presentation is The Power of Online Learning and Improving Equity, Access, and Student Success. But really by sharing this with you, these stories, I want to show you how I can help you, how I can help Montgomery College, the community, our student population, really how I can be of service to you. So thank you for having me in this space. Just a quick overview of what I'm going to share with you in this time together with you. My personal background, like I said, where I've come from, and just really how that has evolved and transpired into my professional trajectory, what my professional world has looked like. And I'm a sociologist by training, which you'll find out in a second, but I like to talk about intersectionality, how things cross paths. So you'll see how my personal and my professional worlds have combined together so that I can find ways to contribute to the Montgomery College community, to the student population, to my colleagues, and to the communities at large. And then an opportunity for questions that we can have at the very end. So let me share with you, at Montgomery College, we have our slogan, make your move, right? So I wanted to share with you what my first move was, which was by no choice of mine because my parents made this first move. And that is when I was only a year old. I was born in Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia on the island of Java. And so if you really look closely at where the origin of the line on the right side is, that is actually where Jakarta is. And we took a plane and probably no more than 2 suitcases, just 3 of us, my parents and myself, I have no siblings. And we took that plane all to Maryland, all the way to Maryland. I don't even remember how long it took, but it was I was only a year old, remember that. And the reason why we traveled over here is because my father got accepted into graduate school at the University of Maryland, College Park. So we were on a student visa, probably going to stay here 5 years max, the traditional number of years for a student. And then the intent was to go back home. Well, my parents enjoyed the United States, enjoyed Maryland, and well, you'll see how that has evolved over time because I'm still here. So giving already a little bit of my future. But that was my first move, that long trip from Jakarta, Indonesia to Maryland. Now, I'm going to share with you on the next slide something I've not shared with a lot of people. And this is what my lineage is. So I mentioned that I am from the island of Java. And many centuries ago, I guess, I have royal lineage in Java. So I'm part of a Javanese royal family. And this was because in Indonesia back then, it was ran by sultans. So I come from a long line of royalty from the island of Java on my father's side specifically. And so this is a traditional outfit, I guess you can call it. And you know, we don't have this anymore because now it is run by a president. The country is run by a president, but we still very proudly talk about the stories of my previous and my ancestors, previous generations. So I wanted to share that with you because then you'll see somewhat of a contradiction as I talk to you about my life after. So when we traveled to Maryland, we lived in Prince George's County, specifically Langley Park. And so this just is a depiction of the 3 schools I went to. I spent about 14 years in Prince George's County. For those of you who might be familiar with this county, it's a very culturally rich county. It is just full of vibrance and life and just a lot of different ethnicities in this one county. It is very vibrant. And at the same time, it is filled with impoverished communities, impoverished neighborhoods, a lot of poverty, a lot of poor people. I witnessed a lot of crime, a lot of homelessness and food insecurity, housing insecurity, just a lot of the things that you typically would find associated with impoverished communities. And I saw a lot of negative behaviors in each of these 3 schools I went to. So when I mentioned to you that I'm from a Javanese royal family who moved here to Prince George's County with only 2 suitcases, not a whole lot of money, you can imagine, not so much for me because I was only a year old. So what did I know? But a lot, it was a culture shock for my parents, right? So growing up in PG County, I had 2 dream jobs. First one, teacher. And the second one, working at McDonald's. And here's why. So when I was as young as 2 years old, I would find myself teaching in front of a lot of my teddy bears. And by that, it's used teddy bears that you'd get from Goodwill, Salvation Army, remember, impoverished neighborhood. We didn't have a whole lot for money for chalk. So I had whatever little chalk I had and the chalkboard. And I remember just teaching my stuffed animals. I don't even know what a 2-year-old would teach their stuffed animals, but I taught them something. But right there, I knew I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to make a difference, right? So here I am teaching, and I remember taking pieces of paper, cutting them up, pretending like they were quizzes, and I'd say, teddy bear, here's your answer. And I would just do that over and over again. And at the same time, I wanted to work at McDonald's because as a kid, I always thought it was fascinating that you got to make kids happy from their kids' meals. You got to make kids happy from Ronald McDonald, their mascot. And I always just wanted to make people happy. So those were the reasons why those 2 were my dream jobs growing up in Langley Park, Maryland. So let me share with you takeaways that I had as a result of my experience living in Prince George's County for the 14 some years that I was there. I mentioned to you, I witnessed a lot of things that sometimes some people only read in sociology textbooks, psychology textbooks, but I saw it live. I saw it, unfortunately, with my friends, with my neighbors, and in some cases with the teachers that I had. So drug addiction, substance abuse, domestic violence, food insecurity, housing insecurity, you name it, I witnessed it. So for a very long time, from the beginning, I always wanted to understand, why do bad things happen to people? Why? They didn't do anything wrong. They are just doing their jobs. They're working hard jobs, low-paying jobs, but they were hard workers. They cared about their families. Why do bad things happen to them? And then I empathized with them, people who couldn't get out of their situation. And I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't know how. As a kid, you try your best. You always want to make people happy, but you just didn't know how. So over time, I just began studying, and I had this intuitive nature. You know, when you were a kid, 5 years old, you always asked, why? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Well, I was asking, why does this happen? Why is the world like this? I was always into politics from a very early age, and always looking at how politics can really impact people in both positive and negative ways. Again, why, right? So as a result of my parents witnessing a lot of those same unfortunate behaviors that I was witnessing, my parents were afraid that I was going to fall into peer pressure. So what they did was their next move, which became my next move. We moved from Prince George's County, almost in the middle of my high school career, to Montgomery County, to Rockville. So you can see the arrow from PG to Montgomery. Here, I did not have the opportunity to go to a public school anymore because, again, my parents were afraid. They always put education and discipline and family at the core of everything we did. Those were their top values. And because of their fear, I ended up going to Holy Cross Academy. This is an all-girls private Catholic school. So can you imagine 14 plus years living in Langley Park, going to public school where you saw a lot of things, to now going to a place where you probably experienced the opposite end of things, right? But one thing I will tell you from my time in Holy Cross, it taught me, and I'm going to share with you this, what power and privilege can do. So when I saw the status of several of my colleagues, my classmates, my friends, my teachers, what I wanted to do was, how can I use some of that power and the privilege to make a difference? Remembering all the friends and neighbors that I had whose lives were just turned upside down because of some unfortunate circumstance. And I wanted to figure out a way to make a difference. So I combined my lived experiences from Prince George's County with the knowledge and the skills that I acquired from going to Holy Cross in Montgomery County, and I learned how to make a difference. So I began partnering, I began networking, I began conversing with people in Montgomery County, trying to figure out ways to help people. And then I went off to college after that, continuing on my endeavor to make a difference in people's lives. And you'll see that from, I show this slide to you so you see from the degrees I received, the programs that I majored in, that I wanted to have some sort of social impact. So I went to Brandeis and majored in psychology, majored or had a track in pre-law. I went to Georgetown, majored in social policy, which again is social service, trying to figure out ways to improve people's conditions. And then a doctorate in sociology, specializing in social stratification, which is essentially meaning that you see that there are inequalities in the world. What can we do to help people reduce those inequalities? Okay, so all throughout my educational career, I wanted to find ways to make a difference in people's lives. So continuing on this journey of mine. And so when I talk about what I ended up doing professionally, it stayed with me. I continued on the path of social service, public service. I worked at the Urban Institute and WestAT, which are think tank research organizations, where I would evaluate programs like the No Child Left Behind Act, which some of you might have heard about, the Food Stamp Welfare Act. I also evaluated that to see whether or not this was a program that was making a positive impact on people. I wanted to ensure that all of these programs that were being funded were actually making a difference. That was my primary responsibilities as a public policy analyst. But remember when I told you I've always wanted to teach since I was 2 years old and never got around to doing that? Well, when I decided to leave Urban and WestAT to go into graduate school and enter into the doctorate program, and then I went into the University of Maryland, matriculated into that program, that's when I got the opportunity to teach for the very first time. Officially, not to my room of teddy bears, but officially to actual students. And I was hooked. You can't even imagine the passion that ran through my body and my veins and blood when I taught the class for the very first time. And it was actually at Montgomery College that I taught my first class, Humanities Building, 3rd floor. I will never forget how excited I was. And then on the morning of, I was so nervous, I don't think I even wanted to go to work. Because I was so nervous, yet excited. But I did it and have fallen in love since. And that was almost 16 years ago. And have not left academia. and have fallen in love with higher education and certainly can't find myself anyplace else except higher education. And so those logos that you see there, Montgomery College, University of Maryland, UMBC at Shady Grove, and Towson University are just some of the places that I did teach sociology throughout my time. And moving along in my professional journey, I wanted to continue making a difference with students, particularly at Montgomery College, particularly the communities that we serve. But I thought to myself, how can I make a difference beyond the 30 student classrooms? While that was fun and engaging, and I felt like I was making an impact, I wanted to have a larger impact somehow. So I continued teaching, both on the ground as well as online. And this is where my future in online started to come about. Eventually, I became department chair of sociology, anthropology, and criminal justice. So this is about 5 years ago-ish. And then became the founding dean of the virtual campus. These various roles at Montgomery College have allowed me the opportunity to serve students in different ways, various capacities, and have allowed me to see all the different needs that students have and how the needs of students have evolved over time and the needs of our communities have evolved over time. So I've had the fortunate opportunity to be able to sit in these positions. And as I move on, it doesn't show. There's supposed to be a, I don't know if it's going to come up, but it's a reflective cycle of my world. So the intersection, oh, there you go. Just took a little bit long to pop up, but it's showing up on over here. I wanted to share with you the different identities that I have and how those different identities have shaped the person that I am, both personally as well as professionally. So I'm a first generation female immigrant from Southeast Asia, which is Indonesia. Lived in impoverished living conditions, despite the fact that I come from royal lineage. Attended both public and private schools. So what that afforded me was the opportunity to take in different perspectives, right? My family had always emphasized that family, education, and discipline always came first. So always at everything I do, education is number one, which is a no-brainer as to why I am in higher education, why educating our communities is at the forefront of my mind. But I gotta tell you this part. I have for a very long time, and a lot of people experience this too, probably without realizing it, an experience as an outsider within. That's a sociological term. And what that means is that you are playing the game of other people, but you feel like sometimes you don't always fit in. And I think a lot of people, particularly immigrants or racial ethnic minorities or gender minorities or other minority groups, might feel a little bit of an outsider within experience. It's an identity where you are in the game, in the space, in the environment with other people that you will always feel like you may not necessarily always be a part of the group. And a lot of people feel this way. There's a lot of sociological studies about this. If you're interested, I recommend Googling outsider within to learn a little bit more about that. But that is something that so many people experience. But because of that outsider within experience and all the different elements of my identity is the reason why I continue to want to make the world a better place. I know that sounds cliche. It's a very famous quote, but it really is the reason why I am here today talking to you about my journey. So some of you might have seen this image before. It's going to show up soon. So this is my purple. You may have seen this because it's it gets showcased in areas and spaces where we talk about equity, equality, and what you really see here is 4 different scenarios. Okay, the first one on the far left is what our reality looks like. It's what our society looks like, whereby you have people who all want to see the game. In this case, a baseball game, and they all have different resources. Well, some have so many resources that they can fully see the game and have fun. Some have fewer resources so they can kind of see the game and still have a little bit of fun. And then some others don't have any resources. They can't even understand what a game looks like because they don't have those resources. That is stratification. That's the specialty that I got in my doctorate program, trying to understand why we are divided like this in almost all elements of our society. And if you see equality, you see that everybody gets the same resources, right? One box for them to stand on. But is everybody able to see the game? No. So this is still a part of reality for some people, but you still don't get the full, you're not achieving your fullest potential here. In equity, you're starting to get a little bit better, where the people who need the resources are actually getting it. So now you see that everybody gets to see the game, but you still have that barrier, right? That fence is still the barrier. And then liberation. That's the purpose, I think, of anybody who goes into education. They want to break down those barriers. They want to break down the systemic barriers that prevent all of us from watching the game as fully as possible. And one day we may get there, but it takes a village, right? To sound a cliche again. It is an all hands on deck endeavor. And so this is why it's so important for me to tell my story, for us to share each other's story, so that eventually we can get to a place where we will all be liberated like this and can really enjoy the game. So some contributions that I think I have made to students at Montgomery College, as well as the community. Student success is at the heart of everything I do, everything we do at Montgomery College. But when Ms. Block-Rincon mentioned my introduction, mentioned a little bit of the things that I had worked on or helped to advance during my nearly 16 years at Montgomery College. College affordability. I want to make sure that college is affordable and accessible to our students, because otherwise they can't finish, right? They can't go from one semester to the next, one course to the next. So one of the ways in which I help to achieve college affordability is through what we call open educational resources. Students might see it as Z courses on the course schedule. Faculty and staff may know it as Z, but also as open educational resources. And these are resources that are highly inclusive and allow students to see themselves in the material. And when students can see themselves in the material, they can relate to the course material better. They become more engaged, and then they will want to continue on to the next. And all of that freely, openly licensed material, which allows them to afford college. Access to education, same thing. If we can make college affordable, we can allow them to access their courses, their materials, without any hindrances. Inclusion and belonging. It's one thing to be diverse, and we are a very diverse community college. In fact, we were recently ranked as the #1 most diverse community college in the continental United States. Many of you who may not know that, that is a wonderful reputation to have. We are very diverse, but we also strive to be inclusive. We want to include everybody within our diverse communities, but that's not where we should stop. We also have to create a sense of belonging. It's if you include people, but they don't feel like they belong, that outsider within phenomenon, then you've lost the message. We have to make sure that everybody feels as if they belong to the Montgomery College community. And so that certainly continues to be one of the things that I will continue to, will help to advance. Social justice and equity, same thing with the curriculum that we put out, the materials that we have, the making college affordable, all of those fall under the social justice component of education. Partnerships and collaboration, I mentioned to you networking earlier, partnering, talking with different groups of people. Partnering and collaborating is so important because if you stay in your bubble all the time, you don't get a chance to learn from other people. You don't get a chance to understand what else is going on out there in the world. And all of those things you need in order to advance not just yourself, but the communities in the world. So partnering, collaborating, socializing are all very important elements of advancing student success. And then engagement and motivation. So opportunities like this where I get to engage with students and colleagues and share stories, hopefully are ways in which I can continue contributing to the Montgomery College community. So now, we move on to my current position. That as Dean of the Virtual Campus, the power of online learning, which is the title of my presentation. So Montgomery College has been well-renowned in distance education for a very long time, more than 10 years. So this isn't anything as a result of the pandemic, or in fact, actually the pandemic just showed us that we've been doing such great work and continue to do such great work. But the way that online learning can help with students achieve their personal and professional goals are the following ways. Number one, by taking online classes or being in the online environment, you reduce time to completion. You get an opportunity to take classes wherever you want to be, wherever you need to be, without actually imposing too much on your current schedule. So you can take your online classes anytime, anywhere. You also reduce cost of completion, right? Because you don't have to stop what you're doing to take a class, and then that might increase some costs on your end. You can in fact just continue what you're doing, take your online classes, and continue reaching your goals. We also offer at Montgomery College a variety of programs, a variety of degrees, courses in the online environment. And so in my position, I get to increase those numbers. I get to increase the different types of programs that we have, but also provide a plethora of opportunities for students to, and the community to engage in the online environment. And then again, I said earlier, anytime, anywhere, you get to be anytime, be in the online space, such as those who are on Zoom right now, wherever you may be. You get to be in these environments, in these conversations, wherever you have to be. And it is engaging. And we hope that we continue to offer our online environments in such a way that students feel connected, students feel like a raptor, that students feel that they are a part of the Montgomery College community, despite maybe the physical distance that might be there as a result of the online space. And then we're helping the environment also by being in the online world as well. So that has helped, and that continues to help. And all of these elements and more can contribute to student success because it can help with student graduation in the end. So I wanted to share with you really quickly about the virtual campus. So now, I assumed this position in January of this year. So we are approaching 1 year of my being in this new founding position. And I wanted to share with you the vision I had of the virtual campus when I assumed this appointment. I want the virtual campus to be innovative, or continue to be innovative. The things that we do in the online space, we want it to continue being innovative and on the competitive edge. We want it to be a place where students have increased access to education, that they can see equitable outcomes and they feel included. I also want the virtual campus to be a highly collaborative entity at the college, a place where this is not a one-person show. In fact, that this is an entity where all hands are needed to make this work, to make it successful for our students. And then ultimately, this creates a holistic educational excellence whereby we have faculty, staff, administrators, students, community members, all a piece of a larger puzzle of the virtual campus. So really, these are the four quadrants that make up the virtual campus that help us to continue improving equity, access, and success. And I want to share with you what's in store with the virtual campus. What's going to happen next? And I'll share with you the first one is we are going to continue increasing the number of high quality courses we deliver online. That is a promise. And when we say high quality, we're going to stamp it with Quality Matters. What that means is Quality Matters is an international recognition. It's an organization that says that if a course meets these number of standards on a rubric, then they stamp it as Quality Matters. And it is a worldwide known recognition. And so we are, part of our priorities is to increase the number of high quality online courses so that when students and parents and community members look at Montgomery College and look at the courses that we deliver in the online and remote world, they'll see that we have something to back that up. Secondly, we want to increase the number of online degrees and certificates that will be available to students. Because students have varying needs, and needs evolve over time very differently. And disciplines and industries also evolve. So it's important for us in the online space to keep up with that relevance, to keep up with what is going on out there in the various industries. So we want to make sure that we have the degree programs that will meet the students' needs, whether their goals are to transfer to a four-year institution or enter the workforce right after Montgomery College. We will continue to increase the number of online degrees and online certificates. Right now, we have a total of 20. So we have 12 fully online degrees and 8 fully online certificates, and 5 more in the pipeline ready for approval, and many more will follow that. So we're really excited about the increasing options that we have for our students. I will also continue to network and partner. That is a major component of success, in my opinion. As somebody who has gone through the different things that I've experienced, I have realized that talking with people is a variable in the formula of success. So when it comes to the virtual campus, for the sake of our students and our college reputation and community, it is important for me to engage in conversations with affinity groups, statewide consortium groups, nationwide groups as well, so that I know what is going on out there, and they also know what is going on at Montgomery College. We can learn from one another. And I think that is an important element for overall success. It's not just about Montgomery College succeeding, it's about everyone else also succeeding. And it's important to partner where appropriate so that we can bring everybody up together. So we will continue doing that in the various spaces that I am in, both statewide and nationally. And then I thought I would show you this. This is a really fun map. It is an online learning student map. And one of our priorities is, of course, to expand the number of online students that we have out there in the world, in the country and in the world. So this is a map of where fall 2022 students are located. And you'll see the purple indicate the continental or within the United States. Puerto Rico is in red. It should be in purple, but it's there. And then you see United Arab Emirates all the way to the far right, have a student out there. So it's really fun to see how this has changed over time and what this is probably going to look like 5 years from now, when the virtual campus is really fully settled and in place, and we expand our offerings all around the world. The website is down there. Of course, you can take a look at our website and learn more fun facts about distance education at Montgomery College. And I want to share this with you. I have, and many of you probably know this from emails that you received from me, but I hold virtual campus lounges because I think, again, the idea of partnering, networking, collaborating, conversing with people, having conversations, brainstorming with people, all of that is really important. So I hold space for employees, for example, certain times of the year so that we can have this space for discussions. And if they have an idea that they want to shoot out at me, feel free to jump in on a Zoom or in person and we can have that discussion. And for students, I have what I call course modality advising sessions, where I hold sessions that students can ask me, should I take an online class or is a remote class suitable for me? And we can have those conversations about what's the right modality for that student for that particular semester. Because a lot of times it depends on equipment capabilities. It can also depend on how many jobs they might hold, what hours of the jobs they hold. All those conversations we have in these course modality advising sessions. So for the spring 2023 semester, I will roll out those hours for students and for employees shortly. So stay tuned for those hours. And then I wanted to share this with you. And this is something I had mentioned this before. Montgomery College has such a good reputation in their distance education, far beyond my time. This was far before. And we've done such a great job with this space because the Office of Elite E-Learning Innovation Teaching Excellence has done such an amazing job with making sure that we have faculty who are trained to teach online. We have the appropriate faculty professional development. We offer the right resources for our students to be good online learners. And here's just a couple of recognitions that we've received recently. A couple years ago, we got the award for Best Online Community College in Maryland. This year, we got Best Community College in Trade School. And then our Associate in Computer Science degree, one of the best in the country. And this is just a few. So keep an eye out for additional recognitions, because I would bet that we will continue to have them. And I'm just so proud to be a part of the Montgomery College community. So I'm going to end with this, because I know that some of you in this space, in this physical space, as well as the virtual space, are wondering, what can I do with my trajectory? What can I do in my journey? So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to network, to meet people, both in and out of the industry. Whatever field that you're in or you intend to go into, find people, talk to people, both in it and outside of it, because it is also important to get varying perspectives. You'll find people who are within the industry who might be able to give you advice on things that are related to the industry and how you can move up. But you might also want to find out other areas of professionalism outside of the industry that could also be related to whatever industry that you would end up being in. So it's important to widen your perspective when you talk with people and you network. My second piece of advice, mentors. Find trusting mentors who can guide you, who can eventually understand your strengths, who will be an active, good listener, and who have your best interest at heart. And not necessarily somebody who is going to make you the next person that person is. This is somebody who is supposed to guide you in making you the best that you can be. So find mentors, and notice I put that as plural, because it is all right to have more than one mentor. And you can have a mentor within your industry, and you can also have a mentor outside of your industry. So definitely find somebody you trust. And then thirdly, third advice to all of you, learn the latest developments in your field. I think higher ed has shown us that disciplines change so fast. Industries change so fast. And it is so easy to fall behind that train ride if you don't know what's the latest in something. So it's important to always keep abreast of the research, keep abreast of the statistics, the data that are relevant in your field, so that you are aware of what's to come, or you can predict or some of the latest developments that might arise in your particular industry. So with that, I will share with you contact information that I have. I have my email address there. I also have my Twitter account or Twitter name, as well as my LinkedIn name. So feel free to follow me, to post something, or to email me if you have any questions. You want to chat and brainstorm with me, things, ideas about the virtual campus, or anything else. I'm happy to help.
Edge. Wow, thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for sharing your story and just the intersectionality of where you come from and where you are now, and the impact that you're making at the college and on students and beyond. So thank you for coming here, sharing the space with us, and sharing your story with us. Very inspirational.
Thank you for having me.
So this is the portion where we will do question and answer. So those of you in the Zoom room virtually, if you have any questions, just go and put them in the chat, and then I will facilitate from there. And our guests that we have here in the space as well, if you have any questions, this is your chance. Here in the chat to see. Anybody, any questions?
I do have a question. Where is a good place to find a mentor?
Very good question. So a couple of places. You can certainly find it within your place that you work, but you can also find it in other places. Maybe you frequent a place of worship, or maybe in your neighborhood. You never know, there's a neighbor who happens to know something that just strikes your interest, or you have a similarity, and then you eventually establish a mentor and mentee relationship from there. Sometimes mentors, I think the best mentors happen organically. So my advice is not to actually intentionally search for a mentor, but just allow it to happen. However, be intentional about the places that you are in. So be in these kinds of environments, for example. Find yourself present in a lot of these events, because again, you never know who you will bump into, you never know who you'll come across. And again, organically, a mentoring relationship can come about after having a couple of conversations with those people. So it can come in a lot of different spaces in your world. Yeah, great question, thank you.
There is a question here in the chat about, are there online courses on equity or certificate programs at Montgomery College on equity?
On equity, and is this for a student or a faculty member or staff member?
This is a community member.
Okay, well, I would encourage that person to go onto our website and look at some of the courses that perhaps the workforce development and continuing education might offer, WDCE. There isn't necessarily in the credit side specific programs on equity, although I will share that there is a certificate called the Ethnic Social Studies Certificate, in which we do talk about racial, gender, ethnic stratification that do touch on equity. So there is that certificate as an option too, but I also recommend looking on the WDCE portion of the Montgomery College website to see if there are some classes specifically on equity. Yes.
Thank you. Other questions for our speaker this evening?
Someone raised their hand.
Oh, somebody
Someone
raised their
raised their
hand.
hand.
Okay. While they're looking, the person that asked the question says, sounds interesting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are some tips you would give for an online student when it comes to networking? Like I, for example, last year at MC, I took classes almost completely the whole year online, and I felt it was very difficult to connect with people. Maybe not so much professors, but with people that I'm studying with, my peers.
One of the things that I can provide as a recommendation is often there is a discussion board in each of the Blackboard course sites. So if students are willing to create their own little study group that is in that particular course, that is most certainly an option. Outside of a course, I recommend places like Student Life, where there might be some virtual clubs or virtual activities, virtual leadership programs that students can be involved in, that allow them to be a part of a cohort, to still have that Raptor experience, even if it's virtual. So those are a couple of options, both inside the classroom as well as outside of the classroom.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for you. So one of the things that you said in, oh, there is a question. I'll ask mine and then I'll go to the chat. So one of the things that you mentioned during your presentation is the importance of staying abreast of the latest developments in your field. What are the latest technological developments that are happening in online courses in the virtual space?
I'm glad you asked that. So what we are seeing a lot of in online space, online learning, there are ways in which peers can contribute to each other's work. So there are a couple of neat tools. One that's called H5P that allows for social annotation. So when instructors allow for that, so what will happen is students can comment on each other's work, and that is a part of their assignment. And that helps to engage the students in a way that is different in the virtual space. And students can learn from one another in a way that you might not be able to have done so without a tool like that. So there are a lot of different digital tools that are out there that are emerging and that allow for engaging. There's another one that's called Padlets is a very good one. That's been around for quite some time, but that's been being used to allow students to write things. It's almost like a whiteboard, and you just put Post-it notes. Imagine that if it were a physical one. And this Padlet just allows students to see what students are contributing to. If they want to answer a particular question that an instructor has posed, or whatever the topic is. So these types of tools will help to increase engagement and allow for students to feel a little bit more, a deeper connection to their courses, and allow it to be more fun.
Excellent, thank you. That goes right to the question that you had, Louise. A question from the chat. What has been one of the most interesting classes you've taken throughout academia? How has it helped you in the current position you're in as a dean?
Oh, gosh. So I have to think about all the years that I will probably say there's probably one in each program that I was in. The first one I have to say was Psychology 100 at Brandeis University during my undergrad years. And psychology was the class where it opened my mind literally because I got to learn about the mind. I can remember how growing up, I was always wondering why are bad things happening? Why are people doing this, or things are happening to people? And I think psychology allowed me to see what happens internally. And then a sociology class to couple that with the psychology class allowed me to see what happens externally. And so then combining those two classes together, I think has actually helped me to really hone in on the social sciences, hone in on the idea that I want to understand the world better, because if I understand the world better, I can help people more effectively. And I think as it relates to my current position as dean, as a sociologist by training, I am trained to learn and understand what's going on out there in the world. What's the national landscape like? What are the environmental or external factors that are happening around us that could influence what's happening within us? And so it's that external and internal combination that was my psychology and sociology background that I think has allowed me to now venture into the world as dean of virtual campus.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for that question.
We do have another question in the chat. I actually have this question too. How do you see virtual reality and augmented reality playing a role in the future of education?
Oh, I love that question. And that's an ever evolving question, because when we look at national landscapes again, we see a lot of schools, a lot of programs all throughout the country, in fact, all throughout the world, using virtual reality, for example, in their education program or in the culinary arts, in nursing, right? There's just so many opportunities out there that VR, AR, AI can do in education that I think can help us become better and more effective and efficient industry. I think there's a lot that higher education can learn from other sectors of the job market, of the labor market. We've talked about this in numerous places and spaces, but we can learn a thing or two from the Amazons of the world and a lot of those highly efficient industries or companies that get it. And I think we can tailor some of that to what's happening in higher education. So the answer to that question, there's a plethora of opportunities and possibilities out there that I think we have yet to really tap into. And then, but the important part is that we have to really be on the cutting edge. Otherwise, by the time we get to it, it'll change again, and then we'll have to play catch up. So we really have to be right there and be as relevant as possible.
Yes, that's very true with technology. It's changing all the time.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any other questions from here in the hub or in the chat? Okay, well, I will take that we have, you've answered everybody's questions, you've inspired us, and you've shared some new information for us to learn about you personally, but also your career path in the virtual campus. So Dr. Hernandez, thank you so much for being one of our guest speakers here at the Hub in the Fireside Chat. And for the rest of you, thank you for coming virtually, in person. We do have a survey that we would like for you to fill out for us so that we can know that the Hub is offering content and information that you enjoy, or how can we make it better. So thank you. We have this is my final plug. We have our last Future of Tech session happening next week here, of course, in the hub with Ramon de la Cruz, who is going to talk to us about digital transformation in the artist's craft. So we're going to hear from an artist perspective about technology as well. So again, thank you, Dr. Hernandez, for your time this evening. Thank you all of you for coming, and please fill out the survey.